Hello, and it is a Wednesday, the first Wednesday in October, and welcome to Interview You Stories. And no, the U has nothing to do with YouTube, it has to do with your stories. And tonight we have an absolutely phenomenal story that's going to be told. It's absolutely incredible. Um, it has to do with something that you are definitely going to want to know about for yourself, for your loved ones, for people in your family, because it's very rare. And 50 to 80% of women die within the first hour. Hello, Giggles. What is up? How are you? Good to see you. We're just coming in and saying hello. I am doing well. We have David Build Vlogz is going to be coming on tonight, and he's going to tell a bit of his story. And his wife, who just had their fifth baby, who is in rehabilitation now. He's going to tell what happened and the rare not disease, syndrome that she had after having the baby, to warn people and let people know, because guess what? A lot of doctors don't even know it exists. And it has a very high rate of, well, let's just say most people don't survive it. But it is a good story. It turns out well, just to let you know. It's absolutely fantastic. So we started to do it the other week, and it was a little bit much for David because he was trying to watch his children and do other things, and we had technical difficulties. So he's going to tell his story tonight and tell about his wife Jody, and it's a miracle that she is with us today. And I think it's an absolute miracle that while she was still in a coma, 8 days in, he was on his channel wanting to bring awareness to other women to save other people's lives, because you have a much better chance if your physician knows about this. And most physicians don't even know it exists. So how can they help you? Yeah, Giggles. Oh my God, it's incredible. And I think David is absolutely phenomenal that while his wife was still in a coma, he wanted to share and bring awareness to this. So I offered my platform, and he's going to tell us about it tonight and tell us the story. And so then if this ever happens, you ever see something like this happen, to you, family, otherwise, they have a chance. And I think that's just a phenomenal way to help each other. And I think it's incredible that he was thinking of other people while in that situation. Mama Styles, what is up? We've got Giggles, we've got Mama Styles. I see we've got other people listening. And like I said, guys, this is a phenomenal story you don't want to miss. It is incredible, and the heart that he has to want to share this, and the phenomenal, this is just a miracle that has turned out well. Once you start hearing it, I'll just make a quick announcement, and then we're going to get going, because I think the poor man is worn out and a little sick. This was his fifth child. The baby is healthy and well and everything else like that. So that's been phenomenal. On Monday, we have a very special guest. Some of you guys may not have seen him in a while, but Mario from MFN Productions is going to be on October 8th. That is this Monday. Way back at the beginning, when I first had the idea for Interview You Stories, before anybody was doing interview shows, before everybody was going live, I said the idea I was telling a few of my stories live, and I said, I would like to hear other people's stories. In fact, I did the video about my RA and everything, and I started talking about it, and Angel said, you should do it. And MFM Productions was one of the original people on the list who wanted to be on Interview You Stories. And that was before it's fractioned into 4 different shows and a makeup show and everything else, which Giggles, sometime you need to come on and be a guest. You would be fantastic. So that's where it all began, way, way back. And MFM Productions is going to be here. He was on the original list of people. So, and we've got much more comely. Kimberly Harrod would be the next guest with my co-host, Mama Styles, on October 15th. It is every other Monday. But now we're going to not be talking about makeup. We are going to go into an absolutely miraculous story with a fantastic guy. David Build Vlogz was originally Mustang 2016 something. He can correct me, but it was one of the very first people I met when I changed my channel to a public channel in February. Fantastic guy, and I loved his videos. Most people don't know I love cars and motorcycles, but I do, and this is not about that, but it is fantastic. Always such a sweet, kind person. Is always the nicest person to me, and what could I do but not return it, his kindness. So hello, David, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing good. How's everyone?
Doing well tonight. You have an incredible story.
Yes.
This, for you guys who don't know, just over a month ago, Labor Day, it was, I believe, was that the 2nd this year of September?
Well, actually, she had been in the hospital since August 30th.
Okay, I'm just going to let you start with this because this is incredible. I can tell you at the end of summer, this is probably the last thing that David had on his mind of what might have happened. So,
Yes, definitely.
what was going
And
on? We know that you had 4 children. Your wife had just finished nursing school, and you guys were about to have a beautiful baby. We'll start with
yes,
that.
yeah. So, she had just finished nursing school, passed her boards and everything, and she was going to start work, of course, after having the baby. And so she had to go in August 30th because she was having pains and contractions. She
Right,
was there for about, I want to say, what was it, until September 3rd, when she was, it was time to get the baby out. But mind you, during this whole time, I was 13 hours away working in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi.
right. Because you
She,
guys live in Texas and you work in Mississippi, right?
yes, yes, I
Mm-hmm.
live in Texas, and she was here in Texas. I was in Mississippi. So I was 13 hours away. She calls me and she's like, "Hey, you know what? I'm in the hospital. If are you, try to get over here as quick as you can, and because I have a feeling the baby's gonna be born." So in my mind, I thought, well, I don't know, maybe I should just stay till the weekend, finish out the week so I can get paid,
Right.
and my full week, and then head on over there, to have a few days with the baby and her. But as soon well, I come down here to Texas, and she is in the hospital there in the nursery, the women's section, and everything was they had to put a steroid injection because of course the baby was 34 weeks.
Right. And for anybody who doesn't know, term is considered 37 weeks of gestation. Some people think 40, but actually 37 is considered term. I know I was born at 37 weeks. Um, but 34 is before term. So babies can have issues with their lungs. There's a surfactant on their lungs that helps when the lungs inflate. I won't get too scientific on you guys, but at 34 weeks, they're not always producing that surfactant yet. And that was part of the
Yes,
problem, correct, David?
yes, correct. So they gave her a shot for that, and a little bit after that, his heart rate was kind of like starting to get a little bit high. They didn't want to induce her. So it was going to be a natural birth, just like the rest of them.
Right, right.
Um,
Oh, induction can be so rough too. It's
yes,
very rough on the human body.
yes. And so she was like, "Hey, can I have a um what is it
Epidural?
called, epidural?" And the doctor's like, "I'm sorry about that. You can't. It's already too late." And like,
Oh,
oh,
oh
I go,
no, I've heard of that
yeah,
happening. Oh,
yeah.
good.
I was just like, "Well, babe, I mean, I'll give you a towel to bite on, and you can grab my hand,
I'll hold
squeeze it
your
if
hand.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, I've
if
had
you want."
friends that's happened to. Oh, dear.
Yeah. So, after that happened, she she was having her contractions. Everything was going as planned. Um, so they made her get on her fours, to try to make the baby come down, because for some reason the baby was a little too high.
Right.
But mind you, she was dilated already about 4 centimeters. So after that happened, um, the the doctor comes in to check up on her, because we called the nurse through the the button on the remote,
Right.
uh, because I noticed that her contractions just kind of completely stopped. Like it was just random. The contractions were always like were so strong, and then out of nowhere it just stopped. So my wife, she was kind of like, okay, well, that's weird, and I go, yeah, that's not good. But I didn't tell her. I was just thinking in my head, that's not good. I called the nurse, and sure enough, the doctor comes in and they check her. They pop her water, and they're like, hey, you know what? Well, when he removes his hand, he has a lot of blood on his
Oh,
hand. He has
wow.
way too much blood than normal. So he's like, okay, we need to get an emergency C-section like stat. They they wheel her off, and I was kind of nervous. I'm like, okay, well, oh, this is happening. This isn't good because this has never happened. Um, and actually, I've seen her through this birth, uh, through this pregnancy. I'm sorry. This is gonna be our last child anyway.
Yeah,
So
5 is a good amount.
yeah, that was good. Definitely good. You know, but that was going to be it, because we, later on when we're older, we want to try to travel and stuff like that. That's if they leave the house. that's it. That's if they do. So, but yeah, back to her story. So it took maybe I can't recall how many hours it took, but she came back. The doctor came in, but I kind of saw this worried look on the doctor, and I wasn't satisfied with the look he was kind of giving, and I'm like, oh man, like what's happening? What's going on? But mind you, I didn't want to say anything out loud because I didn't want to startle my wife. So I was just kind of like, just kind of I wanted to ask after, uh, he would be leaving out the room, and sure enough, she's kind of waking up from the anesthesia. She's kind of groggy. She's like, hey, like, how did it go? And I go, well, congrats, it's a boy, So they took him.
Oh,
Yeah, they took him, but since they had a kind of like they had difficulties with him. He was so. What happened? Remember, mind you, I told you her contraction stopped.
yes,
At,
yes.
at the time, they did not know, but what happened was her uterus collapsed. So yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
it sent the baby up in a horizontal position.
Right.
So that's why they had to do the C-section. Um, and mind you, she she's bleeding internally all this time, but they're not too aware of it. They think it's just part of the pregnancy, because she did lose quite a bit of blood during the C-section.
Right, and that can happen sometimes, and
Yes.
especially internal bleeding can be difficult to detect.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's not something that's always easily seen.
Yes. And so once she that was happening, mind you, while I'm talking to her and I'm telling her, "Congrats, you! It's a boy." He was 8 pounds 9 ounces at 34 weeks, so he's kind of a big baby um, for his weeks, for his term. So he was on oxygen, IVs, and everything. Uh, once he came out from her, but once I told her, hey, you know what? I need to go check up on your mom to see how the kids are doing, because she was watching them for us while I was there, and she's like, no, don't leave. I don't want you to leave. But it
Right.
kind of groggy, state. I go, I'm sorry, but I have to leave. But at the same time, I didn't have a good feeling. I had a bad feeling the whole time because I saw the doctor with this like that worried face. He was kind of like this, and he was kind of like, so I was like,
Yeah,
that's
they
not
get that
good.
look on their face that they're trying to hide it,
Yeah.
but you're picking up on it.
Yes. And so, mind you, I'm leaving. I leave, and I'm worried still, but thank God the apartment's nearby because we live in an apartment. And
Hmm.
so we were like, uh, I didn't even take about maybe 30 minutes when I get the first call from the nurse, and she's like, "Hey, you know what, David? It would be best if you head to the hospital because your wife is not doing so good." So okay, well, before that, I got the call and I was kind of worried. I thought it was a baby. You know, my first thing was maybe something happened to the baby. But I got my mom and I picked up my mom, left her watching the kids,
Hmm.
and going back to the hospital. The doctor calls me and he's like, "Hey, you know, your wife is not doing well. You need to get over here now." And you know, when
Oh
she,
my gosh. That's
yeah, when he
that's
said,
just like horrible thing to hear.
yes,
Oh
it's
my
like the worst
goodness.
thing to hear. Yeah, so when he said that, I mean, I didn't even know what to do. It was just a lot of things were running through my mind, and you know, just trying to get over there, and of course, not trying not to speed too, because you know, if I speed and I hit somebody, you know, then
It
I
just
mean,
makes it worse. That's good though that you had
yeah,
the presence of mind to think about that, because sometimes people don't and actually make the situation a lot worse.
yeah. Usually, sometimes people, you know, put on your emergency lights and try to speed, but that's actually illegal.
Yeah,
So,
it
you know,
is.
I just kind of stayed calm, went the speed limit, and then was just really trying to get to the hospital as soon as I could. I do get there and I go into the labor and delivery wing, and I see all these nurses and doctors, and they're there, and my blood just dropped. I was like, oh my god, please don't tell me like, you know, she's dead, or you know, that's first thing that came to my mind, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would be thinking the same thing too. That's just
Yeah.
like a horrible, that feeling the pit of your stomach and your chest, and oh
Yes.
my goodness, I've been in that situation. Please go ahead. That's just
Yeah.
frightening
And,
as anything.
yeah, and so you know, I got this stomach pain like just from seeing all of them, and then with their faces the way they were, it was just kind of like, okay, this is not good at all. So one of the nurses pulls me to a side, and then she's the nurse in charge, and she's like, "Hey, you know what? Your wife isn't doing too good. She was having difficulty breathing, and she just started saying she couldn't breathe. But they, mind you, they didn't want to tell me what was going on exactly.
Oh
But
my gosh.
yeah, they didn't want to worry me. I
Wow.
guess I'm not sure, but I was thinking, okay, I know a little bit about nursing. I helped my wife out with her. She did most everything right, but I mean, I would uh, like to do her assignments with her, just kind of like pick up on stuff, and so I
Yeah,
was like,
that
okay,
makes sense. When I was studying stuff in school, my boyfriend's at the time, a serious boyfriend at the time, he ended up knowing a lot more than he ever planned on,
yeah,
because we would eat dinner and then we go for a walk and I'd talk about what I learned and end up a lot of the time like teaching it back to someone helps you learn it. So whoever you're with ends up learning a lot
yeah,
about it.
yeah, and then you also get poked a lot, you know, because you get practiced on a lot.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, so I right away I knew if it was okay, shortness of breath, you know, maybe she's you know, either having a heart attack or her blood pressure is really low, you know, either or. So they put me into the room so I won't see her. And what I didn't know was her blood pressure had dropped. She was seizing, and they were taking her back into the surgery room.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So all they said was like she just yelled and held her chest. She's like, I can't breathe, and you know they took her to the emergency room. And now, mind you, now I'm feeling guilty because I had left and she had told me, hey, you don't leave. I mean, again, I had to leave because of my kids. I had to go see how they were doing and you know just check up on them. And so I'm waiting outside. It took quite a while. It was a long surgery, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. So she went DIC, low blood pressure. Her kidney stopped working. Um, she she was starting to kind of like she just kept seizing. You know, all
Oh
it
my
was just going bad,
goodness.
and because well, at the time they didn't know, but the blood was going into her. The amniotic fluid was going into her bloodstream.
Yeah, and
Um,
this is one thing people don't realize. When you're pregnant or giving birth, anytime, hey, Miss Kathy, so wonderful to see you. S2W Themes, Enzo, wonderful to see you. Tasha Elaine, everyone that's coming in, wonderful, and especially some of the people who've known David since when we
Started.
met back earlier this year, at the beginning of this year. So this is great. It's great to see all of you. A lot of people don't realize when amniotic fluid or cells from the baby or otherwise go into the maternal bloodstream, the body sees it, the maternal body sees it as a foreign invader and turns on, the immune system turns on it and attacks,
Yeah.
which causes a huge problem.
Yes, and then fetal material also goes into your system. So
Yes.
that's another thing that triggers all these, kidney failure. Uh, you can end up in a vegetative state after this. Also, that's one of the biggest things that happens in AFE cases, amniotic fluid embolism.
Yep.
And so that happened, and they came out of surgery. I'm in the ICU now, the that floor, and they're telling me, hey, you know what, it doesn't look too good. She's bleeding out a lot. Right now we have her open, and she has packing in there to prevent the blood from coming out. So, when they're telling me this, I'm just like, oh my god, like I can't believe
Yeah.
this is happening. This wasn't planned at all. I planned on just staying for a week, going back to work, and you know she was gonna end up starting uh, her career. We were gonna, go and have the baby stay eventually at a daycare, so we could just, get our lives going.
Right.
And then this happens, and the doctor's just kind of like, right now she's on life support. So I'm like, wow, like I can't even believe this. I can't even believe this is happening to me, and
Yeah.
her, because she's 28 years old, and she's not a smoker. She doesn't drink. She'll drink socially, but very little. Nothing like to the point to get drunk or anything like that. So, mind you, that is one thing that did help her in her ability to fight. Um, for
That she didn't drink or smoke or whatnot, with her physical health
Yes,
being in good health before
yes,
these issues happen. Yeah, that definitely can help a lot.
yes. And then the worst part during all this, she also had gestational diabetes. So,
Ah,
things were
yeah.
not looking too good. So I'm there that first night, and at the moment, my family members are helping us out with the kids. But at the same time, I can't stay there too much because also the kids need me. But I did stay for the first 4 days that she was very critical. I would
Hmm.
at night, just because I was like, well, what if the first day I was like, what if she passes away and I'm not there, and I'll just feel really guilty the rest of my life, I guess. So
Yeah. Wow.
so then the chaplain comes in and they actually, well, they say, hey, you know what, we're gonna put you into a room, and and before that the doctor said, hey, you know what, she's her blood pressures are down, everything's down. Right now we just gotta wait and see if maybe her blood will clot, but if it doesn't, she is in pretty bad shape, so I just want to let you know that she might not make it. So that's when they got the chaplain and everything, and they talked to us, and I called the
Right.
parents. And that same night she had like, in the surgery room she had for about 5 doctors, um, doing surgery on her, and for the hospital it was just something that they hadn't seen before. They do deal with, they've seen preeclampsia and other difficulties, and but one of the doctors said it's just something you read about in textbooks and you don't really get to experience it in person.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and
Well,
so the
it's
medic.
amazing that somebody knew something, because it's so rare, and this is the one reason David wanted to come on and tell as many people as possible about it.
Yes,
Is most doctors have never even heard of it.
yes,
So the more of you that can hear about it and hear about these symptoms and whatnot, and then perhaps you hear of this happening or something like this is happening, you can bring it up so the doctor can check and see if it happens, because it's between 50 to 80% of the women die within the first hour of this happening.
yeah,
So, and while she was still in a coma, he wanted to bring awareness to this, because if they don't know, they can't help you. I didn't know about this and do now, and that's why I wanted to bring it to you guys. And the more people that know, the more women that potentially can be saved when this happens.
Yes, definitely, and also because there's also a not a wide uh, supply of, it's called factor 7, something that stops uh, bleeding out faster than your normal conventional medicines. So that medication,
Mhm.
it's very expensive and very rare actually, that this hospital didn't have it, but fortunately, I'm grateful that she made it. So
Yeah, seriously, that's absolutely, it's incredible. That's, I mean, it's just really the last thing that you expect, and then something so rare is amazing. And like I said, guys, I couldn't believe it. It was day 8, she was in a coma, and David was talking about wanting to bring awareness to this, and I just thought that it was so amazing. He attempted to come on before, and we had technical difficulties, and he was trying to watch his children. Um, and it didn't work out, so we had him come back. And the one thing I keep posting is the GoFundMe for him. If any of you guys can help out, even if it's a little bit, or next month or the month after or something like that, he's having to help watch the children, and his wife is, we're getting to that part of the story. She is in rehab,
yes.
rehabilitating. She has to relearn to do everything again. But anybody that can help out the family a little bit, because has been unable to go to work, having to watch over his family. So the doctors encouraged him to make a GoFundMe, and then he also down the road would like to help other people. But I will let him tell about that. We were having more of a conversation before the show, and we've been talking back and forth since this happened. So please go ahead, David.
Yes, and so after that happened, I think the next night, one of the doctors tells me, "Hey, you know what? She really isn't going to make it." And I'm sorry, it's because they're leaving the. Okay, that's what. So, uh, okay, all right, okay, thank you. No, okay, thank you. So that's my wife's aunt. She was just watching the kids.
That's so
Okay, thank
kind of her to help you out.
you. Yeah, she's been very helpful, and I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the stuff that I try to do without the help I've been getting from the family. But yeah, so
Oh, Miss Kathy wanted to tell you, she said the placenta abrupted during Jesse's labor. She said, I know full well the scares of a risky labor and pregnancy. She said, please tell David I am lifting him in prayer and want to support him. I'm first hearing of this. Yeah, this is exactly why I wanted to bring him on here, so more people heard about it. If you guys check out the description box, there'll be both the GoFundMe and his channel link is down in the description box. At the top of the schedule, so you can find his information. You can watch his live streams on his channel before this, and then he'll tell you more. Gregory Salvatore says, oh, thank God she's doing better. Patsy says hello.
yes,
And they're all saying hello to you and everything else like that. Go
yes,
ahead,
thank you.
David.
Hello. And so after that happened, she they just said, hey, you know what? She's not gonna make it. He flat out just told me like that. He didn't say it in the mean way, but you know, you have to face the facts, I guess, at one point, because she was on life support. She wouldn't stop bleeding out. She was having a lot of seizures at mind you all this time that she's there in a coma. So the I just kind of like, I wanted to cry, but at the same time I'm not really a guy to really like cry. I'm more
Yeah,
like hold it in for some reason, and
I'm like that too. I tend to be like that too. I'm not a big crier.
yeah, and I think it has to be has to do with my upbringing. I was brought up by being spanked and in a one parent home, so it just kind of like in a way like don't like to show too much emotion. But I mean, definitely, I did cry. In the parking lots of the hospital and in the car, just not in front of my kids because I didn't want to. I didn't want to alarm my kids, and
Yeah.
They thought,
And that's terrible. That's to see daddy crying. That's scary. And I would probably be much like you. I tend to like when, and I relate a lot what happened with you to what happened with my father because it's so similar. People said to me like, "Oh, are you Spock?" And I said, "No, I'm not Spock." But I just tend to be more private when it comes to crying or showing emotion in that way. It's not that I don't feel
yeah,
it or show emotion, and I don't think it's that you don't either. It's just a more
yes.
private moment.
Yeah, and so the doctors kind of noticed that, and they're like, "Hey, you know what? Thank you for staying strong and for actually not freaking out and because some people will let out the scream when they're told news, bad
Yeah.
news, of course. But I did tell the doctor when he told me that, he go, look, I mean, I respect your profession. I admire. The thing about me is if somebody's doing well, I like that. I'm not like a hater. you know, I like seeing people progress and especially if you come up like from the bottom. That's to me that's awesome. But I
Yeah,
like seeing
it
everybody.
really is.
Yeah, I like everybody seeing. I like seeing everyone do better in their life and do better for themselves. So I did tell the doctor, I go, I have respect, to complete 100% respect for you because you've studied and I know it takes a very long time for
That it
medicine.
does.
Yeah, it does. I think it's like plus 7+ years. I was reading about it
Yeah,
one time.
depending on what you're going to be,
Yes.
and the
Uh,
residency. The residency for
yes.
me, because I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, just the residency and not the fellowship was 7 years.
Yeah. So
For an internist, your average internist, it's a 3-year residency, 3 or 4 year residency. But yeah, when you get up to surgeon and above, it just the residency is insane.
yeah.
But we,
And
I say we because if I hadn't had my disabilities and become sick, that's what I'd be doing.
yes.
It's for those of us who truly love it. I never knew wanting to be anything else since I was 3. I don't remember anything else. So, it's
Yeah.
people who truly, truly love it and want to do that and help people. So,
Yes, definitely. And so I told the doctor, I go, you know what, I respect your profession, but I believe in God, and
oh yeah.
I have faith that somehow God's going to give you the wisdom when you're going to go back into that surgery room with the rest of the doctors. God's going to be there, and He's going to let you guys find what is causing her to bleed out. And so he just kind of like said quiet, and I mean, of course, he probably understood. Hey, I'm feeling distraught, and I didn't mean to. I didn't lash out at him, but tell him that because later on I stayed thinking about it, and I'm like, hopefully he didn't take it in a bad way. But um, I go to her room because the room was right across the nurse's station when I told the doctor that, and so I just prayed with her, and I remember the scripture of God with Lazarus when Lazarus was he was dying, his sisters were there for him with him, and Jesus didn't get there on time, and I'm not trying to preach to you guys. I'm just saying what I was using to cope, I guess. You know,
Oh no, and that's absolutely
yeah,
welcome done here. In fact, Miss Kathy says this is such an inspiring live stream. I love this. She said, great timing too for me. I feel so inspired. I'm also feeling a true spiritual healing over his child.
that's
So yeah,
appreciate.
you're definitely inspiring people. And please know it's not considered I always allow anybody, whatever their beliefs are, to be expressed.
Yeah, and so I have respect for other religions, and whether it be Buddhism, whatever you believe in, I
Yeah.
respect it. I'm not gonna
I welcome
ask
all
you.
religions on my channel. All religions are welcome, beliefs, whatnot. It's all welcome.
Yes, and so then I just kind of kept that in me, like, hey, you know what? Jesus came to Mary and Magdalene and told them, hey, you know what? Uh, Lazarus will live. And then if you kind of go and read on the story, they were like, well, if you had just come a little bit sooner, he would be alive. And then the other one told him the same thing. So he ended up getting mad, and he goes to the tomb, and Lazarus is up and about, and he's doing fine. So I just kind of prayed real quick, Lord, I know that if you rose up Lazarus from the dead, you can rise my wife up because she is in a coma. She's not. Well, mind you, at this time I didn't know she had died twice, though.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
I
So
think that's almost at that point better that you didn't know.
yeah, I think that's what the doctors were just kind of like trying to avoid. I think personally, because they never told us. I think the EMT guy told us later on. He's like, "Well, we could take a look at the chart," and that's how we found out.
Yeah,
So
I think sometimes it might have just brought you, brought you down in a place where there was nothing that was going to help you by knowing in that moment,
yeah,
it probably it probably would not have helped. So
yeah, no, and so you see, I snapped a picture really quick because I asked one of the nurses, "Hey, can I take a picture just to kind of like for my own for my own self?" And he's like, "No, no, no video or no social media." I don't know if he thought I was gonna do Facebook Live or something like that, but
oh my goodness. Well, you know what?
I,
Nowadays, sometimes people do things that you would never think, but
yes,
some people would. I don't think you would, but
no, no. So I took a picture just to kind of like I was thinking in my head, you're gonna wake up, Jody. Her name's Jody.
yeah.
So I would always tell her that when she was in a coma, and mind you, she's swollen to the point of beyond belief. Where she has so many blisters where she's retaining so much water because her kidneys were not working. Um, she's on life support. She's having seizures off and on, and she's not responding at all. She doesn't respond. She doesn't even open her eyes. I think the only thing that did happen was she kind of within that state she tried to take off her tube,
Hmm.
but they did have to medicate her even more to keep her at bay. But
Yeah, a similar thing happened to one of my family members. They actually had to sedate him because of the various tubes and whatnot that they had, and because they will try to take them out.
yeah,
So they do often sedate them a little bit to keep them from hurting themselves.
yes. And so then I think like 4 or 5 days pass, but mind you, I'm going every day. I'm praying for her every day. I see her, and there's pastors coming over to pray. People all over. I reached out to people. At first, I just really wanted prayers. To be honest with you, and I hadn't really thought about the financial situation because I.
Yeah, I remember I was following. This is the weirdest thing, David. I don't know how these things happen.
Yeah,
But and I get weird messages from, not that this is a weird message, but
yeah,
that's a poor choice of words.
yeah.
But
No, it's okay.
I get strange messages, weird messages, messages you wouldn't expect. Especially, I have my whole life, but especially since my grandmother passed in January. Because I originally started my YouTube channel, I made 2 videos in December. My grandmother passed, and I stopped, and then I restarted in February, and it's actually amazing that I did because I took that time and then said, okay, now I'll start again because I might not have met all you guys. So I
Mhm.
think everything happens for a reason. And then when this happened to you, all of a sudden I realized, and you guys have to understand, David has always come by my channel. And I do makeup, health, wellness, and lifestyle. And then the live
Yes.
streams, the various live streams I do I never planned on doing them. They just I fell into them. And now I have 4 different shows and whatnot. And David has always come over and he's watched the makeup ones, even if they're not the special effects ones, which might be more interesting to him. But he's always come over. And I was thinking one day, I was in my studio and I said, geez, I haven't seen David in a while. That's funny. And I went and looked at his channel and boom, this had just happened. And
Yeah.
it's just so weird how things like that happen, that it's just, all of a sudden you get a little message, hey, go check on somebody, go see what they're doing. And sure enough, this had just happened with Jody. So
Yes.
that was really wild.
Yeah. And so that happened. I kind of didn't feel like being on social media due to that situation. I was sitting on my Instagram. I put a post up where I'm sitting kind of down, and I'm
The
sitting down on the
floor.
chair in the lobby, and I have my phone pointed down, and I just take a picture because it's the floor what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna work? I can't just go here and find a job right away because what about the kids? I mean, to work here, I'm not gonna be able to um, maybe find a really good paying job here. And even if it was a little bit, how was I gonna pay childcare? With maybe,
Yeah.
let's say if it's $7 or $8 an hour. So because unfortunately I have some college, but I never finished it because I got into construction and I would make okay money there. So I'm not saying I made a lot of money, but it was enough to survive and do what I needed to do. Um, so yeah, just a lot of thoughts started coming through my head, and oh my god, what if she dies? And what am I gonna do with 5 children? And how am I gonna work? How am I gonna a bunch of stuff. You know, you could just imagine.
Yeah.
So that was kind of
And
like
those are,
fear.
I think anybody would have those thoughts.
Yeah. So that was kind of like fear coming into me. And then I was into the Christian radio because that's kind of like what I usually listen to now. I
Hmm.
don't listen to rap anymore and stuff like that because a lot of the times the messages I do like the music sometimes, but the messages are sad, you know, and it's kind of like, you know,
You know, yeah,
so
that's true. Because
yeah,
I do like some. I like some of almost everything. I'm
yeah,
not huge on country or reggae, but I
yeah,
even like some of that. But you know that's true because there is some rap music that is really good. But
yes,
now that you say that, it does tend to be often a sadder kind of down message.
yeah, and also because my kids, you know, sometimes the rap music that comes out nowadays, it's just a little too hardcore for what I want my kids to be listening to. So, you know, I've been listening to 96.9, which is the Christian radio station here, and and I think I saw, thank you, Kathy, um, for she just donated.
Yes,
So
she did. Miss Kathy says, thanks for the link. I just sent a donation and will support with prayer. She added him to your prayers. And Miss Kathy definitely, she
definitely,
will, you will definitely be, Miss Kathy prays every day, often, many times a day. So you will be included often.
thank you. Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's what I did. I was going on the Facebook Live and no, I mean on YouTube Live, and just asking for prayers, and I even went to some bigger car channels, which I was very surprised that they even kind of paid attention to me because they would thumb up my comments, but you know they were like, "Hey, bud, you know, sorry we had to hear that," and you know, prayers go out to you, and a lot of people just kind of like started reaching out with prayers, and you know that to me that was sufficient, you know, because um, I've been taught like you know if you want something, pray for it. So
Yeah.
uh, it just depends on your faith too, because if you don't have faith, well, you won't you know you won't receive it. So when she was in the coma for uh, I think a total of 8 days, if I'm correct, or 9 days. So I would
Yeah.
just keep praying for her every day. Um, something she would do good, something she would do bad, something she you know something she would regress. And at one point, they did want me to like you know they gave me that option. Do you want to disconnect her or not? Of course, I said no. But they did give me a paper, you know, entailing everything that happens, you know, vegetative state, not being able to do things that she would be able to use to do before all this happened. So um, the eighth or ninth day, I go back to I go to the hospital just like any other day, and at the same time, they're doing me a favor actually keeping the baby there so that I can kind of see my wife and be there for her.
Right.
That was
Right.
really
I
awesome.
remember you talking
Yes.
about that, and that's really nice because they don't normally do that.
Yeah, no, they don't. So they kept them there for 2 weeks after delivery, and but the doctors were like, "It's okay," you know. And I would split my time between them during the day, and then for the kids, and I would go back to them in the afternoon. Um, so I would still have to, you know, make sure that they did their homework and go to school and not miss a day. Which I'm happy they got perfect attendance recently. So, um,
Oh,
yeah,
congratulations to
yeah,
them. That is awesome.
yes. So
Fantastic. And congratulations. As I put on here, hashtag super dad, because you
yeah,
do. You
thanks.
deserve it.
Yeah,
I do
I
not
kind of
hand that out lightly, but you definitely have retained super dad.
yeah, kind of like, oh, I think one of my little girls, she's like, "Hey, are you our mom?" She's 3, so you know she kind of says random things. I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm dad mom for right now. So
Yeah, you're doing a fantastic job, David. You really
yes,
are.
oh thank you. And then so that night, 8 and 9 day, I'm there at the hospital, and they're telling me, I see this nurse come up to me and kind of with the paper, kind of they're getting ready to put a trach because
Hmm.
mind you, you only have a certain amount, you only have a certain amount of days, and then they have to put a trach in you,
Right.
uh, keep assisting the body, and so what I'm what I'm thinking like, oh my god, you know, like she has to wake up because in my head is like, well, what if she's gonna be subconscious about that scar, you know, eventually
Right.
later. I was just kind of
Well,
thinking,
and they say the longer that they're in a coma and the longer that they're out, their chances start going down.
yes, they do,
So,
yes,
and it's a real concern
yeah,
because each day out is, a bigger concern of, oh
Yes.
geez, are they coming back?
Yeah, and you see, they would tell me that too. They would remind me, hey, you know what? We don't know how she's gonna wake up, whether she'll remember you or whether she'll have brain damage, because we do have. They did some CAT scans on her, the neurologist, and they did find some blood in the close to the brain, but nothing that kind of would affect her. So they kind of gave the clear on that, but still, it wasn't. We didn't know how she was gonna wake up. Basically, what state she would wake up, because mind you, she did have a lot of seizures. Um,
Right. That's amazing because what I think you said 5 seizures.
she probably had more than five.
Oh
It's
my
just it's four.
gosh.
Yeah, it's just four that they know of, that they uh, I guess when she was still before the surgery, she had those four, and then mind you, she coded twice. She died twice. So and also
Oh,
that's a it's very. Some people think, okay, well, you see it in the shows, and they bring them back to life, and it's like, okay, we go back to our daily routine, but it's not like that. I think I read somewhere where it's like a 60% chance of survival. So I was like, oh my god.
well, and it's
Yeah,
not as pretty as it is on
TV.
TV and whatnot.
Yes.
My
Yeah.
father coded in the ambulance and literally came back like primal and screaming.
Yes.
He came back roaring, and unfortunately, my mother happened to be in the ambulance with them, and she probably should not have seen that.
Yeah. Yeah, because
You
it could
know,
be traumatizing.
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
the pretty thing that you see on TV all the time when they do code and they bring them back. It's
Yeah.
it's
And
ooh, it definitely, not to say his wife was or wasn't, but and like he said, it's not just, oh, la la la, we go back. It's
yeah.
it's very different.
Yeah, yes, because you have to consider also the amount of time they were out, because of the lack of oxygen to the brain and all that good stuff. So, I mean, it's she's been called the miracle in the hospital, the miracle child, because she was in that pretty bad situation. And so going back to that nurse showing me like they were gonna come talk to me about the trach, and she ended up waking up. she but
Wow.
but she didn't wake up like like with her eyes open, and she was able to talk or anything. She was half awake. So when I was praying with her and the nurse was there, and they were going to give me those papers to sign so that I could give the okay for the trach. And I just prayed with her really quick, and I go, Jody, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand or just kind of like squint. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
just really believing and having faith that this is going to happen. And sure enough, she actually squinted. So
They can
I,
hear you.
yeah, they can hear you, mind you. So when they're in a coma, they can hear you. Um, the
I
nurse,
had a similar thing happen, but with the hand squeeze. So yeah,
yeah,
they could hear you. They hear anybody. If you have this happen, talk to them, hold their hand, ask for a
yes,
response. They can hear you.
yes. And so she did do that movement with her eyes. So but the nurse, it wasn't enough for them. It wasn't enough. I'm sorry, because I'm with a baby. It wasn't enough for them to say, hey, you know what, she's okay, neurologically, because it could have just been a reaction from her body. So um after that happens, I was given hope with that happening. And so I'm really happy and excited, and I go and tell my family, and I'm like, hey, you know what, she kind of like there was a sign that she might make it through this. Fast forward to maybe 2 or 3 days later, she has her eyes open, but not really open, like halfway open. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of rolled back, and she's having bad dreams. uh,
Oh.
yes. Well, she told me later, but this is what was happening. And she was just kind of like shaking like this, and that was all she would do. And she really wouldn't respond to us during that time. But all of a sudden, she just kind of like a few more days pass, and she wakes up like completely. So we went through that whole process where they took her off the ventilator, they took her off the tube eventually. But I always wanted to be there because I just wanted to give her like support. Just because I didn't want her to, feel sad or depressed. Um, because the patient can get depression being there for so long, and so that that all that happened, and she did a kind of a speedy recovery due to her youth also. That's what the doctor said, due to her youth and just kind of living a somewhat healthy lifestyle. I say healthy because she'd like to eat water burgers sometimes. So, um, but so then fast forward to now, it's been about a month, I think, and so she's in a rehab center and she's been doing therapy and everything.
Right.
She's come a long way because she couldn't even eat. She couldn't eat. Like she couldn't lift her hands up. She was just kind of like, for the first few days, she looked like we didn't know if she was going to be in a vegetative state because she just kind of like stare at us. And when she was in the room, and so after that, after all that, situation in the hospital, they saw her fit enough to go to a rehab. So
That's so fantastic that
yeah,
from the situation that she was in, from talking to the chaplain, that a month later that she's actually in a rehab and rehabilitating.
yeah,
It's definitely not the situation you want to be in,
no,
but
no,
phenomenal for the situation.
yes, and so one of the doctors, the way they found out before they let her off to rehab, actually, the way they found out was they didn't know what it was. So one of the doctors called his old colleague from back in the day, I guess. He's in Congress now, and he told him, hey, you know what, I have this situation, and can you kind of give me the info, kind of give me give me some something so that I can know what this patient is going through. So the man who works in Congress, who used to be a doctor, hold on, Chloe, who used to be the doctor, told them, hey, it might be AFE. And so from right there and then, that's when they, realized, okay, hey, it might be this amniotic fluid embolism.
Right.
And so usually the way they figure out is it's too late. They would usually figure out after the person was dead, and they, through an autopsy. So
Wow.
yeah, because the
That
thing is,
I didn't know that
yeah,
normally that's how they would find out. That's
yes,
and obviously, way too late. I mean, it's it's a ridiculous thing to say, but wow, that's holy. I'm stunned. Yeah, hello, alien. Yes, we were talking about no Supreme Court hearing. Unfortunately, somebody stopped in that we did not know and decided to be negative, and has been removed because she was being disrespectful, and we don't have that here. I do allow people to respectfully give opinions, but this is a situation that really that was not appropriate, and we're going to move on from that. But this is in support of David and his wife, and she had a very serious condition after giving birth to their fifth child, and he is telling the story and also bringing awareness, because it's a very rare condition that 50 to 80% of women die within the first hour. So
yes,
the
right.
more people, while she was in a coma, he was actually talking on his channel about bringing awareness to this, because as he just said, most of the time they find out about AFE, amniotic fluid embolism, um, during the autopsy, which it's a little late then.
Yes,
So it's absolutely fantastic to find out. Miss Kathy says Jesse was my fourth. Miss Kathy and Jesse, that Gertrude looks like I did not go look at her, Patsy. I just
go over there,
removed her.
please.
She was asked to be
Okay, let me
polite
just say
and she
something.
chose not to, and that was that. That's how I see. So Alien says inspiring story.
It's okay.
Yes. And but that's wow, that is just
Go.
absolutely amazing. Oh, you get such sweet
Yeah,
little ones.
yeah. See, they're here. Just trying to get them to be calm so I could keep telling the story. So yeah. She now, thankfully, she's in rehab. It is a miracle that she is alive, just like the doctor said. Just because of the whole everything that went down, um, all the DIC, the seizures, the coding twice. Um,
Yeah, that's incredible.
yeah. So when she got out of when before going to rehab, she was in pretty bad shape. She couldn't walk. She could only move her right hand,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
she
I remember before she went in, you were telling me that yeah, that she had very limited speech, movement, whatnot, everything. Because the last
yes,
time we talked, she wasn't in rehabilitation yet.
yes. And so then I was afraid. I didn't want to tell her, but I was afraid. What if she can never speak again, like correctly and walk? And it
Right.
wasn't so much because of me, but it was more for the kids. Like, what was I going to tell the kids when they saw her, and if she would stay like this in this state? But thank God, she made it. She's been improving, doing a lot of rehab. She does a lot of rehab, physical, occupational, and speech. Just trying to get her memory back and trying to get to walking again and doing just the normal things that we take kind of like for granted, I guess, like getting in and out of bed.
Right.
Um,
Those the everyday things.
yeah, putting on you name it. So luckily she's been improving. I did I did I'm sorry. I
That's
did.
now Miss Kathy. His wife is in a rehabilitation facility. She's
Yes.
learning to walk and she's relearning to do everything again because
Yes.
after the coma that she was in, when she went into the rehabilitation facility, she was only able to move her hands. And
Yes.
she's learning to eat. She's learning to talk. She's relearning everything, how to get out of bed, everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're just trying to get her ready so that when they do discharge her, she can kind of do things. But at the same time, I still have to be around because, she won't be able to carry the baby. She does need a walker to walk with for
Right.
now. But she's been improving so much. It's just been amazing seeing her improvement.
She
She,
sounds like a very strong lady.
yes, she would get sad sometimes, and sometimes she would just break down, and especially since she hadn't seen the baby, mind you, because all this happened before they they took the baby to the room.
Right.
So I took the baby to her, maybe a few weeks after that happened, and she was just tears were just coming out. She couldn't speak too good because her throat was irritated because of the tube.
Right.
But it was just kind of sad, but at the same time it was joy to
Yeah,
see her hold the baby.
I remember that because I remember you showing a picture of the baby and saying that she hadn't seen the baby yet. And I remember
Yes,
thinking, oh my goodness, I'm seeing her baby before she's seeing her baby.
yes,
That's like, that
yeah,
hit me. That got to me. I was like, and it was not in a bad way, but I was like, oh my goodness, this poor
yeah.
woman, and a beautiful baby. And of course, you share the pictures of your baby. That's a wonderful thing.
Yes, thank you.
Obviously, you wouldn't downplay the birth of a baby in any means
Yeah,
or share it any less because of something like that. But that's harsh. That really got me thinking a lot. I was like, wow, that I really felt for your wife in that.
yes. And so, I mean, also when I would come home and during all this time that she was in a coma, I would just come home and be really sad because, I was used to having her around and we'd cook for the kids and, the activities that you do, like clean the house together and then do stuff together. Well, when I would come down here. So, take the kids to school, the little things that, you don't think you're going to miss. But during this situation, I
That's
would think about that.
tough. Well, and you know what? Because that's for most people, that's your best friend.
Yeah.
And those are all the things that I think mean the most in the world are the everyday things that you do.
Yes.
You cook dinner and the day-to-day stuff, I think, is the stuff that means, I think, almost more than the giant things.
Yes, correct. And so, Um, like I said, now she's doing great. She's in that rehab. At first she couldn't walk, and then a week passed, and she's finally. I think today she walked 900 steps. So that's pretty good. Yeah,
Yay!
so it's
That's
really
really
good.
good. I know people that
Yeah,
are perfectly healthy that don't work 900 steps a
yeah.
day.
I'm one of them. I really
Yeah,
try.
I'm just getting back into my thing, and I could definitely do that. Miss Kathy wanted to know. She says, "I'm praying and believing in full recovery, and the baby has quite a future plan. God's glory." She wanted to know what the other kids' genders and ages are, please. Oh, and by the way, Miss Kathy, there's a beautiful picture of Jody and the children on the GoFundMe page, if you wanted to see them. But what
Yes.
were
So
the?
yeah, I can go ahead and say the ages are
Uh,
11, uh, 8, 6, and 3. My daughter just turned 3 this 29th.
oh, the
So
29th.
yeah,
Oh
September
my
29th.
goodness. I have a very close family member, the 29th. I
Oh
told you
wow.
beforehand I was in New York for its
Yeah,
birthday on the 20th. Oh, that's
yeah,
really amazing. That's pretty cool.
yeah. So we went and celebrated the birthday in that rehab. They were nice enough and lent us a room. Nothing
Oh,
big, but just kind of like between us and just to kind of have them together, my wife and the kids, so they can just kind of build memory, I guess, and look at it as a time that you went through. But hey, you know what? We made it through that tough time.
that's
So
such a
yeah,
precious moment, though, after all that happening and everything else, that just a simple little party
yeah,
there, just your family and getting to have it together after everything that has happened.
yeah.
That's got to be so meaningful, you
Yes,
know.
it was, and it wasn't like an extravagant party. It was just a cake, and I think we got like 4 or 5 pizzas. Nothing huge, no presents or anything. But
Yeah, but
because
that's the gift right there.
yeah, yeah, and it's like I told you, it's like you know, I'm really thankful to God, that she's with us, she's alive, and uh, because I was sad that the baby, wasn't going to meet her, and
Right.
what if she did die, and what was I going to tell the kids? Yeah, that was my concern.
I
Um,
remember because when she was in a coma still, you were telling me that Mama was going to just get a shot,
yeah,
and she was just, visiting the doctor and, coming up with what to say to them. And Gregory says, I have to run to pick up my daughter. I am so happy to hear David's wife and baby pulled through. Good luck
thanks,
to
Gregory.
David's family.
Thanks.
Um, Patsy says, this guy is the hero taking care of that brood. Yes, he is. That's why I put hashtag super dad. He really
Yeah,
is.
it's
That's
hard.
absolutely incredible. And,
Yeah,
that's something I don't think you'd ever want to have to tell a child is, your mother passed right around, when you were born. That's cheese and other
yeah,
and children. You don't want to have to tell a child that ever.
yeah,
Even
definitely.
though it's not a child's fault, but oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
and
Wow.
so but I stayed positive. Through I really stayed positive through Christian music and just the Bible. Because,
Hmm.
like I said, I believe in God, and I was just kind of like, I have faith that she's gonna get up and she's gonna come back to us, 100%. Like I said, we had a lot of people praying for her, and I believe, all of that, came into fruition, and she was able to make it. Just like the doctor said, she is a miracle. She was basically dying, and at one point, like I told you, they asked me about her will, and
Yeah.
if we have power of attorney, and
And
that stuff.
living wills and
Yes.
yeah.
So we don't have a will, but I mean, it's things that come up to you. They have to be talked about, and when you get into that situation. So yeah, like now she's doing good. She does want to kind of herself get that the AFE more recognized, because it's not something you can detect.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was something that I just like. I keep saying I thought was so commendable, that you wanted to bring awareness to it. I thought it was
Yes.
amazing. You guys had to realize he was sitting there on a live stream, and Jody was in a coma, and he was thinking of his wife and very concerned, but he was also concerned for other people and other women in this happening to. And that's when I put in the comments, "Hey, if I can help you and put it out there and help in any way, please tell me," because I just that really I thought it was absolutely amazing that in this he was still thinking of everybody else. So
Yes.
I just think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and you see also the GoFundMe. I didn't really want to make it because I was thinking, well, um, maybe people are gonna donate, or. But then I started thinking, like, I've seen GoFundMe's for, like, car parts, for equipment, things that are, material things. And so I
Right.
said, you know what, I actually do need the help right now because unfortunately my job, I only make money if I work. It's not,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's not like I can say, hey, you know what, well, I have, uh, you know, this place making me this much money. And, of course, if that was the case, I wouldn't be asking. So, I was a little bit embarrassed to get that going, but, um, that made me realize too, I was like, you know what, like a lot of people out there in the world that are going through this. And I actually came across a case like this in California. Um, Unfortunately, she had a worse outcome. She still wasn't awake, but she still
Right.
isn't awake. But it's just, it would be nice to bring awareness to it. And like I had mentioned to you, in the future, maybe once I get back up on my feet again, I want to be able to donate to people like this that are in this kind of need. Just because it is hard, for the father, and
Yes, it's definitely, and there you are in that position, and with fathers, who maybe don't have support, or and maybe in a worse situation financially, and
yes,
it's definitely something. If there's any way I can help you in that, let me know. I would be happy to, because I mean, this is something that it could happen to any of us. Anybody has a child, this can happen to you.
yeah, and you see, that's the thing. Is like, you don't plan for these kind of things. You really don't. Um, I did have some money, but that got used up, to pay off my bills for that first month when
Right.
so. And unfortunately, I think I read a statistic where people don't save money how we should save it, and I'm guilty of that because I don't save as much money as I should, maybe. But I mean, it's just something that for me in the future, once I get back up on my feet, like I said, I want to bring more awareness to it, and maybe help out families with this need. It's changed me a lot. This whole thing's decision a lot because you plan and plan, but it doesn't matter how much you plan. Like, something like this can just come to you, and you're just there like a sitting duck. You're just a sitting duck, and you don't know what your
Exactly.
future holds for you. So very grateful for the outcome. And but it is something that you don't plan for. Definitely not.
No, you really don't plan for things like this happening. And and like I said, I had this happen, with my grandmother and with my father, and you can be going along doing something happily, and with my father, I was about to go out and go Christmas shopping,
Yeah.
and suddenly we got a call, and so on and so forth, and it just, it's sometimes the happiest of times. It smacks you, and like I said before, it sucker punches you. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah. It's
what
just like
just happened
from the side.
here?
Yeah. It just comes and smacks on the side. Just random.
So it can be very difficult, but Alien says, God becomes real by how we treat those in need. Yeah, Alien.
Yeah.
And I think one of the simplest things that you can do, and I was telling people this before, is put your hand out to someone in need, whether it be
Yeah.
emotionally, financially, whatnot. It's very easy to say, hey, I'm here.
Yes.
What do you need help with? I'm here. Even if you just need a positive thought,
Yeah.
whatnot. It's easy to help somebody else.
Yeah, even with some advice, or somebody's, hey, you know what, this is happening, can you, give me some advice and positive positive advice, basically. That comes a long way. I've always been a believer of helping people. So usually when I see people on the street, even if they're walking on their two legs and they look fine, I still go ahead and give them money. I'm not gonna lie though. Sometimes I do give them just $1, and then sometimes I'm feeling generous and I'll say, hey, you know what? Here's $5, $10, so you can get yourself something to drink and something to eat. I've done also where I've bought a meal for a person on the street.
Yeah, my friend and
So
I used to do that. When we see someone, we go in and get them a sandwich
yes,
and something to drink and give them something. And we actually did have a guy who admitted once when we did that. He said, "Thank you for giving me something to eat." He said, "I actually am an addict, and if you'd given me money, I might have spent it otherwise." And he was
yeah,
honest. And I
yeah,
went, "Well, if we can help you with that, then thank you for your honesty."
yes,
And not to say everybody that's their
yeah,
situation
no,
or anything. I'm
yeah,
not
no.
saying that, but no, I am with you that, if helping each other out makes the world a much nicer place. It
Yeah, it
really
does.
does.
It does. Even if it's just like dropping by and saying, "Hey, you know what? Prayers for you and your family." It's really nice knowing that there's people out there that care.
Yeah,
Truly, it's truly amazing when the human being can be nice and they just look past everything else, and they're just like giving positive thoughts and prayers, or well wishes, whatever it is that they believe in.
exactly.
But yeah, it's this whole situation has truly changed my way of thinking and a lot of things, because I'm still 20, I'm 29 and you still kind of like so but
You still
um
have a lot of life to go.
yeah, so I mean I'm a pretty good person. I try to stay out of trouble and don't really like looking for fights or anything like that. I try to stay. I don't drink, I don't smoke, don't do drugs. So just kind of trying to be to me an example to my kids, so maybe they can do some good in the society, just to um, but of course just I try to bring them up the best I can. That's basically it. Just
Well, I think you're doing a fantastic job, and to stay so positive, that's fantastic. Creators Alliance was just saying that he keeps a grab bag in his car with snacks and juice boxes, all
yes,
non-perishables. He gives them out all the time. We keep bottles of water in the car
yeah,
for emergencies and in case somebody needs water or something like that. We don't have a lot of that in my area. That there would
yeah.
be case to give it out, but I do when I'm in New York a lot try to help out. And even on Fifth Avenue, you see that quite often.
Yeah, so I do that too. Sometimes I'll keep spare change in the center console, just to just sometimes I won't have that much money, and but I still want to kind of give something to them, because I believe if you do and it comes out of your heart, first of all, God sees it if you're doing good, or whatever you believe in, it'll be paid back like karma, so
Yeah, I
uh,
believe regardless of what, I think Angela and I were talking one day and we were talking about the various religions, and I said, I think irregardless of what religion you are, I think whatever positive you put out there or whatever negative you put out there is what comes back, you
yes,
know.
I think so too.
And I think the more positive you can put out, and it's free. There's so many things that are free or cheap to do
Yeah,
that, I mean, no, I can't be the surgeon that I wanted to be, and that's how I wanted to help. But there's many other ways that you can help or do something. Or like I said, just say to somebody, hey, I'm here. If
yeah,
you need some, I'm here, I'm thinking of you. You
definitely. Yeah,
know,
like just a message, like I said, or just stopping by or DMing you, like, hey, you know what? Hope things get better. That goes a long way. It goes a really long way.
yeah, it definitely does. Well, I don't want to wear you out because
Yes.
I know that you are not feeling. He's poor David being going in and out of different hospitals and rehabilitation, and I hear that his children,
Yeah.
as children do. get, they were quiet for a very long time and very well behaved,
Yeah,
but they
they
do
were.
get rambunctious when daddy's sitting still.
Yeah.
And David is not feeling well. I don't know, but I have a feeling he might have picked up something going in and out of hospitals and the rehabilitation centers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
So I just wanted to show you guys the baby.
oh,
He's
wait,
here.
wait, wait. Let me put it. I want to make
So
sure that we get it on here. Oh, hello, sweet pea. I got to see you once before
yeah.
briefly.
So
And
he's
what is his name?
Landon.
Hello, Landon. Hello, Sir
Yeah. So
Landon. How are you?
yeah, he's oops. He's very lucky to be alive too. You know, so because he went through, he was it was a difficult pregnancy, like we mentioned, and he was stuck. It's like he was stuck. I think they mentioned.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they
you
had
said
to
that.
like yank him out. And like I said, he was in the NICU for a week, and then they let him
Oh,
stay extra for another week. So
that is just so amazing that they let him stay for an entire week.
yeah,
That's just really giving at a hospital. That's something you don't hear of
yes, definitely.
nowadays.
Yeah, no, that's very rare and unheard of. You know, usually they're always, hounding you to pay and then,
Yeah, pay and
to
get out, but
yeah,
to let him stay for a
and
week.
arrange payments and everything. But yeah, they're awesome people, and I need to find a way to give them thanks, whether it be I don't know, uh,
I think a lot of the
going somewhere.
time, yeah, a lot of the time when people get a card from you and a picture, I know it means a lot
Yeah,
and stuff. Because a lot of people who get into that, and I'm sure your wife Jody, being a nurse, any of us who wanted to be in the medical field,
yes,
it's just a very strong urge, something that most of us wanted to do for a long time. So
yes,
just little things like that, I know for myself that would have been a big thing to me.
yeah. So well, yeah, I'll probably end the here because they're all getting a little feisty. So
Yeah, I can hear them, and I know that you're not feeling the best,
yeah,
and you look like you're starting to wear out a little bit, and you
yeah.
need your rest.
Yeah, actually, I came
You
down with
need to,
the fever and just I'm sick, so I need to go to the doctor tomorrow. But
yeah,
I wasn't
he's
planning to because I
definitely,
didn't want to spend the money, but
yeah,
I
but
have to.
you've got to take care of yourself. Yeah, David's
Yes.
also got a fever on top of this and whatnot, and he still has a happy smile and a
Yeah.
positive, and you really project a positive air about yourself. Even with a fever and rambunctious children, and that's not saying anything wrong. Children are supposed to
Yeah.
be rambunctious. That means they're healthy and well.
Yeah, that's
Um,
actually what somebody told me. Hey, as long as they're screaming about, it's actually better than to have them in a hospital bed. And I mean, I guess they're right. So
yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, David. And when you're
yes,
feeling
thank you.
better or whatnot, you're welcome to come back anytime and update everyone what's going on. And if you ever want help bringing awareness to this, I will continue to keep talking about it as I
Yes, thank
have
you.
been. But any help that I can give you in it, I would be happy to. I've learned a lot about it through you, so thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's something that, and too. What was funny was I was reading all the cases, and it was just mainly deaths, and I was like, oh my god, how's she gonna make it out of this? So
Yeah, seriously. And honestly, I'd never heard of it. So
yeah,
this is something that now I've heard of, and I'm going to pass it on to other people. And also
yeah,
just, I wanted to, try to be supportive to you because, as I said, David, from the first moment I met him when I came back in February and went to start my channel, he was always so kind to me and nice and patient. I think I asked you some questions about something or whatnot. And I just remember you
yes,
being such a kind person. So
yeah,
I
yes, thank
remembered
you.
his name. All right,
Well, I
guys.
try to be nice.
Well, you
It's
are.
good to be good.
You do a
Yeah,
very good job. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
thank you, everyone.
if you can, I'm going to put up the link one more time. And also, please go in the description box. There's the link to David's channel. You can stop in and say hello to him, leave a comment, whatnot. And I believe he's also on Twitter. I think your Twitter is connected on your channel, right?
Yes, yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
So
you can check
I'll
it
also put a link for the AFE, for AFE.org, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And I'll try to put that up. I'll find that and I'll put that up in the link in the description box here. Thank you all
Okay.
so much for coming. Definitely check out his channel. Check out everything below. Check him out on Twitter and pass the word along, everybody. Thank
Yes.
you
Thank
all
you all.
and good night, guys. Love you, Lady Borgia.